Well, again, tonight we've got Ray Greenip, who has been a long time supporter of this ministry. She's spoken to us numerous times, and so appreciative to have her back. And those who have been around a little while have heard me talk. I always talk about how I think LinkedIn is it's maybe one of the most, maybe the most important kind of profiles that you have out there, because it is the one thing that everyone you encounter during your job search is going to look at, right? Whether it's somebody you're having coffee with, somebody you're interviewing with, etc. Some people look at your resume, some people won't. Everyone's going to look at your LinkedIn profile. So it's incredibly important. And beyond your profile, LinkedIn is an incredible tool that you can use. I'm sure we will only just scratch the surface tonight, but Ray is a guru all things LinkedIn, and she is going to share some of her wisdom tonight. So Ray, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, okay, yeah. No, you're fine. Okay, well, thank you all for having me tonight, and thank you for listening in advance. So we're going to discuss the LinkedIn profile, and I'm going to kind of go through piece by piece on my own profile, just live instead of doing slides, so that it's, everybody can see sort of how to do things and right where everything is. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, so LinkedIn profile, first thing, I'm going to go all the way at the top. So with your link, a lot of times you may notice on your link for LinkedIn that you have a bunch of random numbers afterwards. So you can actually change what your URL is for LinkedIn. So to do that, we just go right here on the right-hand side. And actually, let me come back to home. So when you first log in, to get to your profile, just in case, come over here and first click on your name on the left-hand side. And then to update your URL, you're going to click this little pen over here on where it says public profile and URL. And this little pen here, you can actually update that. So my suggestion here is, if you have a name like Jay Gorman, that there's probably multiples of you here on LinkedIn, and you may not be getting the first one where you can just use your name. Be thoughtful about what kind of keywords you can use along with it, and say, maybe if you're in, the healthcare, and you're really strictly sort of in that industry, maybe you want to say, J-Gorman-healthcare, or if you're a CPA, maybe there's, a title or a certification that goes along with, what you do, maybe an MBA. So it could be J. Gorman MBA, something like that. But get rid of those random numbers, because it's cleaner for SEO, and it just looks nicer too when you're giving out your URL for people to come and check you out on LinkedIn. And then, like I said, be thoughtful about whatever keywords you may want to add there. And so coming back to that, so let's discuss our banner first. So the banner is, a really nice focal point. It's a visual way of being able to sort of be like the boom piece of your profile that's right there front and center and marketing you. So you want it to be really about, capturing what it is you're going for. People in job transition, a lot of times you'll see simple ones that'll just have like a name with contact information and maybe a title or something like that. But see if you can sort of come up with maybe a tagline for yourself where you're using sort of maybe some keywords. I want to have my back to everybody over here. Some keywords, some things along those lines to convey what it is you're kind of going for and how to market yourself. So thinking in terms of, let's say, if you're C-suite maybe, and so maybe there's something about leadership and your style of leadership. Something like, approachable, open style leader, that's achieved 10x growth with the last company, something shorter than that. Obviously, I'm just trying to think off the cuff here, but something that encompasses that. If you have some kind of a website, that's nice to put on there as well, where somebody can kind of check you out. Even if it's a side hustle business or consulting that you're doing, it's nice to put that out there if you're in job transition, because then people know, hey, this person's well-rounded, they're working on something, they've got projects going, what have you. And then, this is really simple. You can do something really nice and simple on Canva yourself. If you, they have LinkedIn banner templates that I will pull, even though I design them for people. I'll pull the template and then maybe update the colors and update a picture or two and insert some things. I'll even sometimes use them as a basis. But they can be pretty nice. So just think about using it strategically. It is nice to have a lovely picture, but if you use it for an opportunity to get that text on there and some, visual aids on who you are, it's really, makes all the difference. Yes.
Ms. Greenip, do you, am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Ms. Greenip, do you suggest having, if you did have another business, have a totally separate LinkedIn profile?
No, you never want to have two different LinkedIn profiles. This is your personal profile. This is you. What you do want to have is a separate business page for that business that you then link your personal profile to.
Okay.
And I can show you a little bit what that would look like. So for instance, like I have my business here. I have two businesses. I have my LinkedIn business, and then I also have my project management business, which is the fractional right hand. So in that case, these are two business pages that I built that I have here so that I'm linked to my two different businesses. In addition to a contract that I also am still present in that I'm linked to their business page as well. So you can have more than one, what LinkedIn calls position in the experience section. You can have more than one be present, like what you're doing presently. So you'd be able to connect to however many kind of projects or businesses you have going on. That makes sense a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Cool. Great question. Thank you. And so now I'm going to briefly go over the check mark that you'll see on my name here that's next to my name. And I do recommend that you do that if you feel comfortable with it. And what that is, it's not like Instagram's blue check mark where they're like, you're an influencer, you're cool, you're somebody if you've got the blue check mark. LinkedIn over the years has really tried to keep their profile as clean as possible because it is a professional networking profile. So they try to avoid bots as much as possible. And this is one of the ways. It's a verification badge that I have actually sent in my ID to them, and they know that I am a real person. That is what that check mark means.
Okay.
They do that through the government agency Clear. So it's like if you're already ID'd through Clear, you just link it up to here and you don't have to resend your information and stuff like that. But the process is pretty seamless. And then once it does clear, it's pretty quick now. It used to take days, but I think it's like only a couple of hours usually it'll go and do that. And what it'll do is if you go to that, see, I already have it.
So let me ask a question. If you do that process, you have to include your social, or am I co-signing somebody buying a car too?
No.
Because that sounds really dangerous. I'm just being honest. I know that was huge.
I know.
But it sounds really dangerous. I'm just being honest with you.
No.
I don't upload anything with my social on.
No, you wouldn't need to give out your social. It's just your driver's license. You send through. It's like an app. So what it'll do is it'll give you a QR code that you scan with your phone. Okay. And then between your phone number and it going through your phone that's associated with you and sending a picture of your ID, that's how it'll verify. You don't put your social security number anywhere.
Okay, but
But right. And it uses Clear. So No, because I didn't. No. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw the check mark, but I thought, like you said, it was for being cool and an
Yeah. No, it's a little different. Yeah. No.
But I was off. But at the point when you talk about my ID, okay, if they're using Clear, because that's what you use for your social security number. I think that's the vendor they use to upload it on there. So that's legit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's, and the only reason I recommend it is, again, if you're comfortable, because I get it, putting your ID out there is absolutely, and I feel you there. But I do only because, like, if you ever had like a hack job, not that it happens all that often or something like that, LinkedIn, the fact that you're already identified as like a real person, that can be helpful. And also it knows that you're a real person. So it kind of like prioritizes your profile more because the algorithm knows you're not a bot. You know what I mean? So it can be a little helpful in that regard. And so I am all for people's information staying private. So I wouldn't recommend it unless there really was a reason to. So again, if you're totally based on your comfortability level there. And another great question on that. So your headline, which is this lovely long thing I have written under my name. So you want to be, again, kind of cognizant about taking the opportunity to market yourself here. And there's a number of different ways. You know, people use it to just, you know, more plain one would just be like a title. So, you know, if you're a IP attorney, you know, somebody might just say IP attorney at, you know, Smith and Jones. But think about, you know, with job transition, you want to think about really like, what do you have to offer and why are you different out of all the IP attorneys out there? So you want to think of in terms of getting some good keywords in there for your industry and what people are looking for. And you can kind of derive those by looking at job descriptions, knowing your industry and everything like that, of course. But you also might have different facets that you want to include in here. So if you're a nonprofit board member, you might want to put something like that in your headline as well, because that's another part of your professional life that's important and also shows potential employers, you know, that you're, hey, this guy's, you know, a community person and that kind of a thing. So you want to just kind of be cognizant of that with the headline. And people ask me all the time about emojis in the headline. So the rule of thumb about emojis in the headline is that they're okay if they mean something. If it's just like, let me have that star one or something, unless it's your branding, I mean, you know, maybe not so much, but if the emoji, so I'll give you an example. If you're a biz dev person, it could be, you know, increasing profitability, and you might use the little graph thing that goes up, that emoji. So there it's kind of like driving home that point, right? So there's a use for it. I've gone back and forth with mine and using emojis here and there. I've like stuck with my branding color, which is the yellow, and I change my headline probably once a quarter or so. So if something strikes me, I play with it. But right now, I don't personally have any. But again, if it speaks to your personality, and like I said, it has a purpose, it's okay to play with that. So we'll just quick go into contact information. So this is pretty standard. It used to be like you could link like your Twitter handle, I think, in here, and way back in the day, it was like your, I want to say like AIM Messenger or something they had linked up in here. So just make sure that you're, you know, if you've got a company website, even if it's a personal website, or maybe you're still doing consulting work for the company you used to work for, something, maybe you want to feature that here. But take advantage of, you know, something linking here. And another couple of things, if you have premium, I recently went cheapo and got rid of it. So if you have premium, couple points here. The banner, you may have there's a new feature with Premium that has rolled out to some profiles where you can have up to 5 images on your banner that scroll through like a little carousel. And that's pretty cool. And you may, for somebody in job transition, a cool way to use it may be impact words that, you know, so maybe like some cool branding with a neat picture, or maybe like even a little graphic that display, you know, that goes along with what the word is. And maybe it's 5 different words that make a big impact for your industry. Yes.
So I'm glad you brought up the premium.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm glad you brought up the premium thing, because do you advise it? Because I've talked to people and they say premium is good, but if you stay on there long enough, if you use premium for like 90 days, you probably would have so many contacts. If you worked it aggressively, it would take you a while to catch up. Or how long did you have premium before you cut it?
I did do I did the big, like now they have a career premium level, and then they have a business premium level that is not even Sales Navigator. Then there's Sales Navigator. So I had the business premium one, and that gives you some additional, it depends on how aggressive you're using it for reach out, because then there's still limitations with the career one, because the features featured in a career one are of course more job listing oriented. So getting to see who the job poster is, getting to see who's viewed your profile, those are sort of more the features that they focus on. Whereas if you're looking for people to connect with, so it's like if you're looking for companies and then you're trying to get people to connect with actual people in that company to say like, who's the job, you know, who's the whole department, let me try to connect and try to get in with somebody. The premium business may be the best upgrade because it's like unlimited profile viewing, and it doesn't restrict you really with like connection requests and things like that. You get more in-mail credits. So if you're using in-mail as part of that strategy, you'd want to go with something like that and just see, like you said, go with the monthly instead of, because they try to get you to go for a whole year and they give you the little discount. Just go monthly, like you said, for maybe 3 months and see what you get out of it. Because if you just hustle and get it done, maybe you want to cancel after a couple months.
Still, Sales Navigator.
Sales Navigator, I'll tell you what the biggest pros are is the ability to filter. Sales Navigator itself, as far as what it offers with CRM component, which is laughable even really saying that, it's clunky and it's not easy to work with. There's decent, their AI messenger is pretty cool. Like their AI is pretty decent. Like if you want help, like with coming, but honestly, you can use ChatGPT for that, right? Like you don't need that. But Sales Navigator has some additional important filtering that when I've done sales strategies for people can be very important. So things like, I'm trying to think in a transition, you may want to know transition. It could be helpful because you can filter on things like how big companies are. So if your target is really like, you really want just mid-size, you don't want to work for Amazon, but you're also like, yeah, but I don't want like a startup size, you know, like you want somewhere in the middle. You'd be able to filter that on looking for companies and things like that. You'd be able to filter for people and this could be important. You'd be able to filter for people that have only been in jobs for like 90 days or less. So like, then you'd be able to know, oh, they're not a good contact really probably for me because they're just getting their feet wet in the company. I want to be speaking to senior people that are at least they are 5 years, because they're going to have some pull, they're going to have some weight, right? So if you're going to the trouble to find connections on LinkedIn with these companies, Sales Navigator could be a good tool for you with the advanced filtering. It's helpful. Make sense? Thank you. Another awesome question. So yeah, so, and then there's a couple of other great filters, great features on premium on the top of the profile that I just want to mention very quickly, which is there's a custom button that you can have there, which is, you can say like salesy or markety, but if you do have a portfolio website or something along those lines, you may want that, because then right under your profile name, you could have a button that says, see my website, and just a good call to action for somebody checking out your profile to just go right there and check out. So there's that piece of it. And then also under the premium business, there's that call to action. When you make a post, that link also appears under your name. So if you've seen people's posts like that on LinkedIn, where it's like, I'm Ray Greenip and view my website underneath, like right on the post with the link, that's what that is. That's a premium subscription feature. So there are some cool things. I won't go into too much of the rest of that because I want to make sure we get through the profile here. So your about summary, think about, there's, I'm sure everybody's heard the, Simon Sinek, start with why, and kind of all of those things. But you do want to convey, I don't want it to sound cliche, but you do want it to convey something about you, again, using it as an opportunity to set yourself apart from the next person. So, think back to like what sparked your excitement about the industry you're in. Why are you looking for the position you are? Maybe you hated the industry you just were in, so you're trying to rebrand and reface into something else and kind of fit into something else. Well, what's driving that? Why that? So think about some of those things, and those are the kinds of things you want to include. You don't want this to read like a boring summary of your resume. You really want to use this as an opportunity. Try to have a call to action in there, ending like, hey, can't wait to talk to you. Send me a connection request or something, just something, even if it's that simple, but just some kind of call to action here. You cannot have links here. So of course, like for mine are websites, but I just put them there with a little like click kind of thing. So there's also a services section that you can have. Now, this can be good for really only some people, because their services that you can pick that you have on there are limited. Like it's from a drop down that they create. So you can't just put any service to get all, any keywords in there. But it can be helpful depending on what you're in. And if you're doing some kind of consulting or something on the side, that can be helpful for that too. Featured, that is where you can feature things like you can upload documents, links to landing pages. You can also feature posts. So if you do some content posting to try to stay up with the industry and putting out content maybe about, update, Amazon's latest round of layoffs, and maybe you made a commentary or something on it. Maybe that's a good post to show that you're, staying up to date on an industry, something along those lines. So you want to maybe feature that right here on your profile. And that's something that you can add, like if you put this little plus button here, you can add a post once you've posted it. So any of my posts that I've done recently, I'd be able to add to that. Activity, okay, experience section. So a couple things with the experience section. You always want to make sure that you are tied to the official business listing for the company that you are putting on here. It looks nice and professional. You've got the nice logos on there, which I'm sure most people know and do anyway. If it's a very small business, they may not have a business listing on there. Do the best you can, of course, but try to make sure that if there is one, you're connected to it here. On the descriptions, try not to use this as a regurgitation of your resume. You want to bullet point accomplishments. Think about what are the things, maybe big projects that you've accomplished, maybe things that you've done with leadership in a team. You've built out a new department, something. But think about what those things are and then maybe bullet point them a little bit here. So again, you know, like I even use little colored bullets on mine here. So just to show you an example. Experiences, some people are, question, well, you know, if I have 30 years in the business, I don't want to sound like I'm that experienced, or, you know, if I'm right out of college, but I've done a ton of internships, but does it look bad because they're all for 3 months each, you know? Just think about it in what makes sense to what you're trying to go for. Are they going to look for the fact that you have these different experiences? Because if those internships were all different and they brought something different to the table that contribute to your skill set, yeah, you want to list them. You know, you want to show that you're versatile and you can jump and move. That's great. And maybe for senior level, you know, maybe you're picking things from your career that really just tie into what you do now. And so maybe you don't include everything, but then there's the big breaks and things that, you know, again, all kind of just what makes sense. Education, licenses and certifications. So LinkedIn has a great LinkedIn Learning Center where you can take little courses. And so like recently I went and got a project management certificate right from the PMI, right through LinkedIn Learning. So you can do little things like that. And this is a great place to highlight them in the licenses and certification program, which I want to go up here to show you real quick. This is how back up in the top of your profile, add profile section. There's all these, they keep adding different sections that you can add, but you've got the core, and then under recommended, that's where like you can add that featured that I was talking about. They now have projects. There's courses that you've taken. So when you've taken a LinkedIn course, even if there's not a certificate with it, you can actually put it on your profile. There's the recommendation section, which we'll get to as well. And then under additional, yeah. So there's patents, publications, volunteer experiences, honors and awards, organization. So that would be like causes that you might be associated with, that kind of a thing. These are really important to convey, especially something like volunteer experience. Even if it was like, I used to do the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I still have it listed on there. I mean, I haven't been active in some years, but I still have it listed on there because you never know what could be a connection point. Maybe so-and-so sat on the board of Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and that's where they're like, oh, I'm gonna select this resume out of the 1,000 that are on my desk because this guy, was part of that. That's cool. You never know. So again, all about being well-rounded and all of that too. Yeah.
You find that the LinkedIn Learning is very helpful. Oh. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be.
No, you're so good.
Have you found that the LinkedIn Learning classes have been helpful to you, that you actually get something out of them, or do you think it's just something that it's just good to put on your?
It depends. I get what you're saying. Some of them, I think it really depends on what you're going for. The project management one, that is the one that I did the most recently. And I thought that was, fairly interesting. And the teacher, I subscribed to like her newsletter. And she's got some interesting things that she kind of keeps up with in the field. So that's kind of cool, because now that's a good resource for me to kind of keep up with trends and different softwares that she reviews and recommends and things like that. Like anything, I mean, there's going to be cruddy courses and there's going to be probably better ones. So there are areas though that should have courses that maybe don't. I mean, so it really depends on what you're going for.
Do you have a PMP yourself?
I'm not a PMP.
Okay.
No, but this is like a foundational certificate. So it's like one of the first steps of PMP that I have. Yeah. I think you can probably go full PMP through there because that course is through PMI, like if you're interested in that, but yeah. So yes, causes. There you go. Perfect. So yeah, so with the different sections here, just important to be aware that they keep adding them, and there's some cool things there, like the project section. They added for something like, if you were, let's say, in hospital administration and you helped, you were on the whatever wing they built. That's like some of the bigger kinds of things like that would be appropriate for something to call out in the projects. But they can really be used for a number of things because, just think about the accomplishments you had at work, with work and your past, and there could be something that you might want to put up on there. Yes, volunteering, skills section. So make sure your skills section is always up to date with what you're going for. Now, there are probably people that would say, every application that you send through and you really want, update all your skills to match that and stuff. Well, that's a lot of crazy updating. I mean, I don't know. But if you can, just make sure that it's up to date. They upped it now. It used to be you could only have 30, then 50, and now there may not be an upper limit, or it's over 50 now. So there's an awful lot of good keywords you can get in here and skills you can put out on there. I mean, you shouldn't really need to, yeah, it's definitely more than 50 because I have 56 on here. And so, but also like start typing in the keyword and make sure you hold all the skills that are most important, like all the keyword ones that you can on there, because what happens with those skills is when somebody posts a job on here, they can select only profiles with blah, blah, blah skills come to my inbox. So in other words, any applications that go through the LinkedIn application process that don't have the skills that they checked off won't even go to them. They're not even looking at them. They can choose that to select that way. So meaning they may, like if it's project management, like if it's business development, they may select business development, but you might have only sales on here. So just be cognizant of, you know what I mean? So it's like, then you apply to something, even though of course you're business development, but you don't have the skill on there and it's not the quite right fit, it won't send through your resume.
Are all the skills like
yes, it's like a drop down. Yes, exactly. It's like a drop down. So you can't just create them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes. So just, be mindful with that. And then also make sure now you can tie your skills to your different experiences, which is kind of neat because then you have these, as somebody's looking at your experience, like boom, skills right there. That's also, so another kind of like opportunity to show with your experience, like what you accomplished there. And so skills, recommendations, very important. It does not have to be a boss, a current boss, former boss, somebody that you're connected with on LinkedIn that's professional and in your network that knows you, that'll say nice things about you. That's what you're looking for. So make sure, take advantage of that, because if you have some recommendations, especially like more than one when you start getting them, and then think about them from time to time so that there's always kind of newer ones on top, ask people as you kind of go. So being cognizant of that kind of keeps your profile, constantly sort of being updated, refreshed, and more of these accumulate, which is nice. Courses, organizations, and that is pretty much it on the profile. Oh, last thing. Headshot. Make sure you can see your face. That's like the important thing. It can be a selfie. You don't have to do, it doesn't have to be a professional. Mine is actually a selfie one because I don't look like the last time I had professional headshots done. Just make sure you look like that in your picture. I can't tell you how many people I'm like, sir, you're much more distinguished now than you were before. I need you to update your profile picture when I do profile optimization sessions. But it's important because, you know, even a lot of times, of course, your initial interviews are going to be, via video or a Zoom call or something like that. You want them to recognize you. They want to see who this person is when they're looking at your resume. You want to look like that person. Last thing I'll mention, this little speaker next to my name is a 10-second audio file that on the phone app, you can add name pronunciation, but that's really just a 10-second audio file that you're recording. So like mine says, like, hi, I'm Ray, can't wait to connect with you, something like that. Just a little bell and whistle kind of a thing where somebody can hear your voice is kind of a nice touch. I think that's it. Any questions?
Well, you know what I was thinking? Do you mind cutting up mine and like giving it a hardcore critique? I don't mind they do it in front of the whole group either.
I don't want to dive into that now because I don't want to
Okay.
keep everybody, but we'll connect offline.
But no, it's their comments.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Krista. That was great.
And how much search do they allow you to do now?
Free is pretty limited. The other problem is that you can't see all the profiles. So that's actually probably the bigger problem, is that you can't.
Do they just like randomly or they don't show them to you, or do they show us like?
You can't see, I think, anybody outside of second level connection.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty significant.
Really need to know somebody.
Yeah.
Because we must be friends with David Kelly.
I don't think, well, because I think he emailed me your profile, but yeah, otherwise I don't think I would have seen your profile.
But now I can look up their. Well, I had to do the other day too when I worked up. Yeah, but I can look up the details.
Well, I think if you're specifically looking for a person, but I think if you're like, I want to find the names of people who work at HCA, it won't show me the third level connections anymore. It only shows me the first and second.
And third level though, you can't see everybody though still. So there was a situation where I had a client for LinkedIn optimization and I couldn't find him, but he could find me. So it was like, even if you know the person's name, it doesn't show you everybody. So it was like this crazy thing where, and then I had to send him like the link to mine. I'm like, can you connect with me? Because I can't even connect with you.
And so what level do you have to subscribe to get that access back?
Once you're at premium business, like you should be good to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Once you connect, premium career still has some limitations there, but it's not as harsh as free.
Premium business, how much is that?
I think it's about a $30 difference a month. I'll look it up right now. There we go. So that's how to get Sales Navigator. Oh, reactivate.
Premium career is 30 a month, premium business 60.
Okay, yeah.
Sales Navigator.
Oh, it's that high now. Wow.
All that is
Additive or
Sales Navigator should get you everything. And then you have the additional platform, which is Sales Navigator, which is technically it's a separate app.
Navigator or Sales Navigator and Sales Navigator Advanced Plus.
There's three.
Right.
Yeah.
It's priced on application, so you gotta talk.
Oh,
wow.
That's big.
That's right, you gotta post that.
That's what they had done with Recruiter, because then you could do Recruiter Lite, but then if you have enterprise, so like recruiting agencies and stuff, like they have like a guy at LinkedIn, and then you have to like talk to them, and it's pricey. I mean, it's for each of those licenses, it's like 1,000 something. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
it's
I'm
not
sure.
cheap. It's not cheap.
Okay.
But yeah, so thank you for that, Nisha.
But that explains a lot about how when I go out sort of looking for people that are maybe in a specific position, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
It oftentimes, like, it just returns nothing, right?
Or it'll show you LinkedIn member where you can't see the name or anything about
Yes,
them.
I
It'll
see
just
that
show you
sometimes.
LinkedIn, yeah.
And so that's LinkedIn hiding it, not that individual has
Right.
said like, I don't want
Right.
people to randomly be able to find.
Right. There's a neat, I'll tell you a little trick of the trade. There's a neat thing where one thing you can do is you can hide your last name. Only your people that are first level connections can see your last name. So you can look for somebody, but sometimes it won't come up, but it'll come up as like JG.
Yes.
But
I
a lot
see
of
that sometimes.
times,
Okay, so that's not, that person's name is out there. They didn't create a profile and just call themselves.
correct. They have it. That's a security setting.
Okay.
However, a lot of times you can see what their last name is because they didn't fix their link. So their link will have their full
Oh, okay.
name in it. So that's a little trick of the trade. Like if
Got
you're
it.
looking for a particular person
Okay.
to be able to see. But anyway, anything else?
Anything else? Yeah, any questions in the chat or?
Let me see. Oh, there's five. Oh, let me see. I can look.
No, it's those are just comments.
Oh, okay. Still okay. All right, cool. Okay, just making sure. Cool. All right. Well, thank
you so much.
I
Yes.
appreciate everybody. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, awesome as always. I really appreciate it, Ray. This is great. I mean, again, somewhat just scratching the surface, but I think a lot of great kind of base level information to improve your profile. So really appreciate it. This is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for everybody joining us. We will be back next Monday night.
Oh yes, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. Connect with Ray on LinkedIn.
Oh, please see that. See me.
I'll look for you right now. Let me see if I can see you.
Awesome. There we go. Turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm following you. Yeah, that's me right there.
Okay.
That's why I need a new. That's
It
why.
was so far away, so I was like.
Hey, Ray, this gentleman brought with it, like, follow first.
Oh no, I was somebody that always there.
Okay, for sure. Absolutely. Happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Yeah, everybody on? Let me know.
Oh, I see you sent it already. They're so good.
Chief Minister?
Would it be you? Would you?
No. It goes through, the intake coordinator. And
Oh,
she'll get
yes.
the background and what the person worked before, and she'll match that care receiver. It might be me, but
Yeah, okay. Definitely talk to you about my job situation.
That's fine,
So,
yeah.
Thank you both of you. Great.
yeah, if you take student ministry, get one of the student ministry cards
Uh-huh.
on the table, yeah, use that. It's got all the person would need to, get hold of Cheryl.
Video, the YouTube video that you did. Are you the one doing the YouTube video that on the YouTube page? You the one talking in those videos?
It varies.
Okay.
The
So
speaker,
there's
like,
Yeah.
Ray
So
will
we
be out
did,
there.
we would have just recorded this,
Okay.
the Zoom, and then I just uploaded to YouTube.
Okay.